to espouse or tolerate. I mean, we can't be responsible for what people are doing that we don't know about, right? We worded this in a way that could be, that there could not possibly be an objection. And I would urge this body to add those two words, and please, let's not send the wrong message that we will associate with those who tolerate anti-Semitism, Nazism, and Holocaust denial.
Dan Tully, SD9. I oppose this wording that's put in there. We took it out for a very solid reason. We discussed it. Is you cannot really define tolerant, and it could really cause a lot of people, especially our leaders, a lot of trouble down the road with it. The language we kept in there does a very good job of sending our message that we're against anti-Semitism, and to add this additional language is very hurtful as you go down the road. It could put you on a slippery slope that you don't want to go down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Pickle, SD8, speaking against the amendment. Words are fuzzy things as it is, right? And even when you're just espousing or having some kind of a statement regarding your principles and ideas, we still have to use words. Words are fuzzy, but they also have meaning. And espouse is a word that means actively or openly advance a particular cause. Tolerate is something that's like inside somebody's head. There's not any way to tell whether somebody tolerates something or not. Unless, of course, they put out a statement saying, hey, we tolerate, Christmas or whatever. But people don't do that. Tolerate is an internal thinking process. Espousing is an external thing that can be looked at and determined by what somebody says or does. So by adding this language in there, we're just making it less powerful because we're trying to say we're going to be able to read people's minds as to what they're thinking. Bad idea. Stand opposed.
Do you want to do are you for? You can go ahead.
Kristen Bentley, SD1, and I'm in favor of the amendment. I think we all know what tolerate means. It is not that difficult to understand the word tolerate. In fact, if you're tolerating something like anti-Semitism, Holocaust deniers, Nazis, white supremacists, the action that you take is to look away. It's an action. There may be thoughts that lead to the action. It may be uncomfortable to confront. It may be emotional and hard decision to make. But when you are tolerating something, you are ignoring it, and you are choosing to look away. The word tolerate is not a difficult word to understand. Now, we have the opportunity today to take a stand on Israel and on anti-Semitism, and we have done that. And now we have the opportunity to take an action to do what Dr. Meyer said, practice what we preach, and say that we will not tolerate, we will not look away and ignore anti-Semitism, Nazism, Holocaust denial, white supremacy within our own associations. I'm a mother like you, and I will stand here today and show my children that I practice what I preach. And I hope that every single member on this body does the same. Thank you.
I'm going to go to Andy on the other mic.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm speaking against the amendment. I want folks to remember the reason why I'm speaking against this is for those who were in the resolutions committee, you'll understand why I'm speaking against this. I was actually the one who added the wording known to a spouse, and I added that in there because you can't know, and I appreciated Rolando speaking up about, saying, yeah, he agrees with that. After we failed to strike the words or tolerate, or we actually struck the words or tolerate, I thought that was a really great measure. And we'd actually left them in originally, and then when we came back and reconvened, we took those words out. Because during the recess period, I got to thinking quite a bit about that and realized exactly what Mr. Pickle was speaking to. It could create more problems than it solves, so we needed to pull those back out. And that was my original intent with my amendment, to say known and then remove the words or tolerate, and that's what we wound up doing. So I do speak against it and wish to keep those out.
Chris, this is the last one.
Mr. Chair, I'm here to speak in favor of the amendment. Susan just handed me this definition, and perhaps this would help as to the word tolerate. Allow the existence, occurrence, or practice of, something that one does not necessarily like or agree with, without interference. I think it's very apropos. There's been a lot of discussion on this, but there's one thing I'd like to leave us with. I'm a big fan of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and he actually made the statement, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, German. He actually made the statement, to not speak is to speak, and to not act is to act, and God will hold us accountable. Please vote in favor.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of information. Rachel Horton, SD 30.
Yes, please state your point of information.
Can you advise us as to the ramifications of inserting such a clause into a resolution adopted by a statewide party with the intent that the Republican Party of Texas will have no association whatsoever with any individual or organization that is known to espouse or tolerate, etc.? If we enact this resolution, what would be the practical implications of our party's movements within an ability to accept overtures or promote other partnerships, coalitions, work with other organizations, that sort of thing? What would be the practical implication? That's my question.
As originally drafted, I don't think there would be any difference in the way we've operated, because I don't see any anti-Semitic, pro-Nazi, or Holocaust denial movement on the right that has any significant traction whatsoever. I do see it in college campuses and on the left and in the streets of large cities. So I don't think it would affect us at all as originally drafted. As amended, have to figure out what the word tolerate means. I mean, if a group allows them to speak, if a group allows them to exist, what is tolerate? I don't know that, so I can't really answer that question.
Point of information.
Yes.
By adding the words tolerate, I think what we're asking us to do is to change this resolution to make us the intolerant party, because we're not going to tolerate things. Is that accurate, that saying that we're not going to tolerate means we're going to be
That's
intolerant?
debate, Matt. That's not a proper point of information.
Can I amend my amendment?
Can I come to Mr. Canseco, and then I'll let you
Okay.
amend your, go ahead.
Chairman, I'm standing here neither to be opposed or for it, but just as a word of caution.
Don't yell that's debate, just say point of order.
All right.
Let's get it a little more, but the point of order is sustained, that is debate.
Yes. All right. So can I
So you
go
gotta be
ahead?
clever and frame it as a question. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't spell.
I'm just totally joking. Go ahead, Rolando.
Yeah, I would like to amend my amendment. After tolerate, insert the following in parentheses, such as employing, appointing to boards, empowering or furthering the influence of such individuals in Republican politics. Yeah.
one to espouse. What's that? Yeah.
Yeah, but should we say that the Republican Party of Texas forbids Republicans from going to Starbucks?
Huh?
I mean, but should we put it into a resolution that
Rolando.
why do we have to hide behind this?
Rolando.
Okay. No, it really doesn't. I mean, we have to now define it. You know, if it had a meaning, we wouldn't be having to put this in parentheses.
Definition is based on what you just added. So Steve's going to call a point of order. If you have tremendous questions on it, you can, I don't know, you could say,
Go ahead.
if you withdraw it, just say, I
No.
told this is tremendous amendment. This is what I want to do.
Yeah. You know. Steve.
I'm first.
Order. Well, now. Rolando, do you want to go first? Just to head off, because I don't want to have people argue if we're going to.
And some people may want to tinker with the wording, but this is intended to address some of the objections about, oh, well, what does it mean to tolerate something? Well, this tries to flesh out that we're addressing actions. In other words, we're not trying to, we don't know what people think. We don't know what people are tolerating in their heads, okay? But we try to redirect it towards actions so that we will not associate with those who, through actions, tolerate Nazism, anti-Semitism, and Holocaust denial.
Dave?
David Wiley, SD 12, will speak against the amendment to the amendment. In that the amendment to the amendment is exactly why the amendment should not prevail. We're having now to define that which is undefinable. And, a spouse is a spouse. Tolerate is not defined. It's one of those vague things which this amendment to the amendment is attempting to define, and it's not sufficient. It should really go much further. There are many, many, many more things that could be the definition of what tolerating is. Matter of fact, it's anything that somebody wants to say that you tolerate, whether they can prove it from what you espouse or not. Am I an anti-Semite? Am I tolerating too much today just because I'm against what Rolando says? That would be for you to decide. I'm voting against this and its predecessor.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, but please state your point of order.
The amendment to the main question was or tolerate. That's what's before this body. To create amendment to the amendment and add additional words is out of order and can't be an amendment to the amendment.
Point of, that is correct. Point of order is sustained. Yeah. Non-germanus is not tolerated, yeah. We're back on the original question, which is to add the words, the original amendment, I'm sorry, which is to add the words "or tolerate." We've already had 3 for and 3 against. So now we're going to vote on the amendment. So a yes vote would be to add the words in red "or tolerate." A no vote would be to not add the words and to proceed on the original resolution. Yes, it's a voice vote. All in favor of adding the words "all" or "tolerate" as an amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Nay. The nays have it. The amendment fails. Now we're back on the main resolution. Deborah.
If we're talking about the new wording.
No, we're not. We're just talking, the "or tolerate" failed. We're on the main question right now, which is just the resolution is passed out of the committee.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's Dan's resolution.
I'm in favor of the resolution as is. I think we all know that the Republican Party of Texas is very much supportive of Israel, and I don't think that, that's any question whatsoever. The only question I was having, which maybe not apply any longer, is how do you police an organization or an individual who is to determine if that organization or individual is truly anti-Semitic? I mean, what if a liberal Democrat tried to set someone up? Or what if there's a letter that I'm not willing to sign? Does that make me an anti-Semite Nazi? Because that did happen to me. I am an anti-Semite Nazi on social media because I didn't want to sign something. So the point of it is that we just want to support Israel and make it sweet and united and not try to bring a lot of conflict into the wording.
Jim
Pickle, SD8. I move an amendment to the resolution to strike the entire last resolve clause. Then I'll speak to it when it's time.
Okay, so there's been a motion and a second to strike the last resolved clause. You want to speak on your motion? Or
yes,
on your amendment?
Thank you.
That's already gone. It was as.
If you read the first 10 sub-resolutions in this resolution, ending with the last one, you can see there, number 10, fully supports and gives thanks. Those 10 are about as strong of a possible condemnation of anti-Semitism as the English language can possibly include. Now, the second resolved that I'm moving to strike takes it a whole nother step further. Because now we are resolving to disassociate ourselves from people who somebody somewhere somehow decides, based on non-known metrics, are espousing anti-Semitism. That means if somebody somewhere, again, whatever metrics they want to use, says, Tim Dunn gave money to some organization that has ties to Hamas, we no longer can take his money. We cannot associate with him. He's out. That's an extreme example. And if that happened, of course, we would probably all say that we should. But it goes a lot less than that. Association, no association whatsoever, means you can't talk to them, can't listen to them, can't engage with them, can't go to them, by the way, and try to change their mind. Can't do that. Can't have a debate with somebody because that espouses that. Can't what? Yeah, can't invite them over to your house. You have the party have no association. So that means we have to disassociate with everybody that somebody somewhere with some metric decides is anti-Semitic. Here's the other problem. Again, words are fuzzy. What does anti-Semitism mean? Let's just look at that one metric. Anti-Semitism. Everybody in this room probably thinks there's 64 of us. We probably have 64 different definitions of what that means, right? My definition is clearly different from a lot of people in this room, right? And so pro-Nazi sympathies, and Holocaust denial, those are a little bit less vague, But anti-Semitism is not a clear term that everybody can decide. So again, it's qui discernit. It's Latin for who decides. Who decides what anti-Semitism is? Who decides what association is? Who decides when it crosses a line where we have to give up our association with those people? This whole resolution is just creating a complete mess for this party. And we have already done, like I said, in the first 10 sub-resolves, spoken about as clearly as we can against Semitism. So, move to adopt.
Scott, can you keep the time? Sorry, my phone just bricked when we were in the middle of Did it? Yeah, we just crashed the whole internet. There you go. Scott.
Yeah, Scott Bowen, SC6. I'm speaking against. I think this clause was well crafted in committee, with the exception of the disagreement over the words that we already debated. The rest of this was well agreed upon by all of the committee members. I think it is important. There have been instances of county leadership into positions that have espoused some pretty disgusting beliefs, and we have a process for disassociating with those people. It's called Rule 44, and if that had been required, we could have done it. So I think this is a statement of our values and our beliefs. This is not a bylaw. This is not a rule. It's just a statement of what we believe and what we think and how we intend to act in the future. And I think having this resolve clause, the way it's written, sets a very clear, bright line of who we will associate with and who we don't. And then it's up to us and to future conventions and future SRECs to interpret it and enact it. And so at the end of the day, I'm very comfortable with the language we have here. I think it doesn't have any unintended consequences. I think the committee spent a lot of time coming up with language that was agreeable and also impactful. And I would like to, I think this resolution is a good place to keep it. I think it fits perfectly with the theme. And I think this is something that we can all be proud of and keep in our resolution and move forward with. So I'm against this amendment and I'm for the overall resolution.
Question for the chair.
Please state your question.
John R. Carr, SD 22. And I think I know the answer, but I just wanted to hear it from the chair. If we pass this amendment and that is stricken, does that mean that we could not at a later date bring up an issue of some person or entity that we thought was violating this?
Yeah, I mean, the interpretation would be left to the chair. I don't think that would affect us now because that's how it would have proceeded anyway, but yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Kiko Canseco, SD 26. I'm standing here in favor of the amendment. We all saw in the last couple of months a lot of talk about so-and-so's a Nazi, so-and-so's a this, all these terms that the left has employed against all of us in order to try and put us in a corner. When many people don't even know what the definition of being an anti-Semite or being a Nazi or being a white supremacist may be. And I think that this, for the very reason that it does not define it in very exacting terms, should be eliminated, and we go with the other previous resolutions that make it very, very clear. The other point I need to bring out, it is very important when we tell our county chairs, when someone who is suspected of being a white supremacist or a Nazi or whatever it is, when they go and sign up to run for a certain position under the Republican banner, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to scratch them off and say, we're not going to let you sign up as a Republican? I mean, we have that problem by law that you've got to accept anybody, whether you think they're a blue Democrat or whether they're pink or purple or whatever, that they've got to sign them up. How do we handle that? So for those reasons, I think that it's very important that we clarify that and that we stop calling each other names or using the rhetoric of the left to try and push our way through various political purposes and things. So that's where I stand.
There's 2 for, 1 against. Let me go there and then there.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Rachel Horton, SD 30, and I raise for the amendment to remove.
If you're okay, I'm sorry.
If I'm
going to do it a little different.
Okay.
I'm trying to
go for it.
alternate
I
as
know.
best I can.
That's what
So
I
let me
wanted
go to
to-
Chris first. I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Byrd, SD 25. I'm speaking against the amendment as I understand it, which would be to completely strike the last resolve. I would like to give Mr. Pickle the benefit of the doubt personally. I just find everything that I heard to be completely disingenuous. And to illustrate, I'd like to read the last resolve as the affirmative if I was to apply that argument. So all before, we have supported Israel. But then we turn around and say, be it further resolved, the Republican Party of Texas will associate with anyone in any manner whatsoever, individual or organization, that's known to espouse anti-Semitism, pro-Nazi sympathies, or Holocaust denial. That would be a positive application of what I'm hearing if we were to strike this. I obviously cannot accept that. I cannot tolerate that. What does that mean? That's right. So I find it to be completely disingenuous, and I also find it to be disingenuous to say that these words are already mentioned in the words above. It's one thing to take a position and to say, I condemn X. It's another thing to say, I'm not going to associate with it. The two are different. You might on one hand say, I'm not X, but then be silent about what that really means. And this last resolution actually speaks to that and adds clarification to it. And I vote, or I move, that you vote no to the amendment. Thank you.
Is it? Okay. Rachel.
Thank you, sir. I just have a couple of quick points on this matter. The first one being that if we scroll back up and check out the full context of our therefore be it resolved, that the Republican Party of Texas hereby affirms our commitment of unwavering support. We go to the next one, reaffirm our commitment by denouncing all forms of anti-Semitism and violence against Israel, Israeli Americans, Jewish Americans, and supporters of Israel. It goes on to define affirms our commitment in support of all Texans who bravely answer the call to serve in all our armed forces, affirms our commitment to uphold the remembrance of all Texas military heroes, lists specifics, fully supports and gives thanks to the Texas State Legislature and congressional members, fully supports and gives thanks to the Honorable Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who publicly continue to solidify Texas's relationship with Israel, reaffirms Texas' commitment to combating anti-Semitism and protecting Texas community from the ongoing threat of terrorism. The final be it resolved clause, members, colleagues, is unnecessary in this resolution, and I fully support removing it, this last minute addition, by the way, from this particular resolution because it detracts from the overall message and it renders itself negative instead of having a positive connotation, which is something we want to maintain. Thank you.
Kristen, you're the...
Okay. SD1 against the amendment. I just, I want to say that this was a compromise, and when we were in resolutions yesterday, if you saw that, you would understand what it is. But I would say that it is necessary to exercise our fiduciary duty to put the Republican Party of Texas first in every single decision that we make, and to boldly say that we will not associate with anti-Semitism, pro-Nazi sympathizers, or Holocaust deniers is important because they exist. And how it seems that we have a problem with language and understanding words in this body. There's a dictionary, I guess, if you need to get definitions. But if we can't define what an anti-Semite is, or a Nazi sympathizer, or a Holocaust denier, then how can we define what a communist is within our ranks, what a Marxist is? This is the same rhetoric or nonsense in argument that we hear from the left. We claim to be the party that understands language and definitions. We claim to be the party that understands what a woman is and what a man is. And yet we don't understand in this body of professionals, of capable adults with life experience, what an anti-Semite is. I'm sorry, if you don't know what that word means, you are not worthy of the position that you hold. It is clearly defined. And it is, to me, shameful that we even have to sit here and debate that last clause.
3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Point of information.
And then I'll go. Yes, please state your point of information.
Who were the three that spoke for? It was Rachel and
You're killing me over here.
It was Rachel and it was Jim, and I think the first one that you counted was actually.
No, it was Rachel.
Who made
go
the
ahead.
motion?
Four was Pickle, Canseco, and Horton.
Okay, yeah. So.
And against was Bowen, Byrd, and Bentley.
Okay, so my question is, since Jim made the motion, was speaking to his motion, are you?
Yes, that counts.
That counts. Okay, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, so debate is over, correct?
Yes. We're
Okay.
moving to vote.
Then I would like to request a recorded.
Are you having a motion or? Can I do the point of information and then you can make?
Okay, I have one
'cause
point
we
of
gotta vote on that
information.
anyway, so.
Okay. Who determines?
Sorry.
Oh, are you going
No,
or am
go
I
first.
going?
Go
A
ahead.
point of information. Who deems who's anti-Semitic or not? Are we going to have a committee? I mean, how do we determine if an organization or an individual is anti-Semitic?
Chair's not advised the motion stands on its own. Ken?
Mr. Chairman, call the question.
Yes, and you could still.
Yes, I would like to request a recorded vote on this amendment.
On the amendment, but not the call to question.
Right, I'm sorry.
Correct?
Yes, not the call to
Okay.
question.
So, we're going to have a series of votes, okay? So pay attention. The first vote is whether or not to call the question, okay? Can we do that vote before what you have to say, or?
I would like to say it before we vote, if I could. Chuck Burnett, SD20. Could I have a time of personal privilege to read the definition of Semite?
No, that would be argument. Sorry,
I
Chuck.
just want to read the definition.
No, we can't. Yes. So the question's been called on the whole resolution, so we have to go down the question's been called on the whole resolution. All in favor, and we're going to vote on the amendment, even if you vote yes, and then we're going to vote on the resolution.
Point of order. If it's on, or point of parliamentary inquiry, if it's on the full resolution, is that without the amendment or with
No,
the amendment?
we are going to go through. So you have a resolution and you have an amendment on the floor, okay? Then you have a call to question. We're going to vote on the call to question. If you vote to call the question, we're then going to vote on the amendment, and then we're going to vote on the main question, whether or not you amend it, however the case may be. So first thing is the vote on calling the question. All in favor of calling the question, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The question's called. Now, next. Did you call for a roll call on the amendment? Recorded vote. Right. So Rolando's called for a recorded vote on the amendment. So this next vote is going to be majority vote in order to call a recorded vote on the amendment. A yes vote is a recorded vote. A no vote is a voice vote. So we'll go to that now. Are you all set up? No. Here's the deal. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly.
Point of information? Point of information?
Yes.
The amendment is what? To remove the word tolerate?
I'll make the amendment clear when we vote on
Okay.
it. Okay? Promise. Yes. Right now, this vote is whether or not to have a recorded vote. A yes vote is a recorded vote. A no vote is a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to have a recorded vote on the amendment, not necessarily the resolution. The resolution already has a recorded vote. This is a recorded vote on the amendment. All in favor of having a recorded vote on the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Mr. Chairman?
Let's do, yes.
So I guess point of order, I was looking through our bylaws on how to request a record vote. It says that we only need 20% of the body to request a record vote. So if there was 20% of us voting for it.
Can you point to the rule, please? Or the bylaw?
I scrolled past it. That is Article 5, Section 5 of the bylaws. Yeah, votes shall be taken by roll call vote when demanded by at least 20% of the members present. Control F.
So.
I find this.
All right. Correct. Okay. Point of order is sustained. All those who want a roll call vote by record vote stand on the amendment. Stand if you want a record vote, and put your hand up if you have a proxy. And this is just on the amendment. So, yeah, that's a sufficient number of people have risen to take a roll call vote. So now we're going to take a record vote on the amendment, and that is whether or not to strike the last resolved. So, highlight it for me. So now we're going to vote on Jim Pickles' motion to strike the last resolved clause. All in favor of striking the last resolved clause, please indicate by clicking 1 on your clicker. All opposed, please click 2. And abstain, please click 3. One is to strike. Point them over here. Jerry, point it. Go down, go down, go down. Susan, Fountain, Chuck Burnett. And then Tish is gone. Voting closes in 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. We have 32 ayes, 29 nays. The ayes have it. The amendment passes. Now we're going on to the main motion, which is the resolution as amended. Please vote on the resolution as amended. A 1 is an aye. Oh, no, we got to redo it. Sorry. Now we're voting on the resolution itself. Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 to abstain. It's the original resolution with Jim Pickles' amendment striking the last resolve. 1 is yes, 2 is no, 3 is abstain. Mine is not working. Oh, now it works. Rhonda Ward, Chris Bro, Scott Bowen, Tom Novus, Galen, Jill, David, Melinda, Dale, Gail. Dale, Roman, Cheryl, Robert. Robert. Has everybody voted that wants to vote? Go down. Naomi, Chris, Karen, Morgan, Robin, Tisha. Where's Tisha? Does anyone? I'm just kidding. I'm just going to pretend to do that every time. Naomi. I know. She voted. We're good? Okay. Voting closed in 3, 2, 1. By a vote of 63 to 0, the ayes have it. The resolution passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we move on to ballot props, a quick note about one other action from the Resolutions Committee meeting and some clarification. So by a I believe it was a 6-2 vote, the Resolutions Committee did vote to concur, as I stated before, did vote to concur with 5 charges from the Jasper County censure of Dade Phelan and to bring that before the SREC. So as I stated, as we stated in committee, those are the 3 that were identified in the Orange County censure of Dade Phelan, plus 2 more related to the impeachment of Ken Paxton. So that because of the notice period requirement, that cannot come up for a vote today. So if you saw in the media that we were having a vote on Dade Phelan today, we're not. That was fake news. But so it has been passed out of committee, and it can be voted on either at the next regularly scheduled meeting or at a special meeting, subject to the 2 weeks notice requirement, which has not been given to his office yet. So that would be given once a date was finalized. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was clear about that. But that does conclude all of the resolutions. However, we have one more item of business to vote on, which is our ballot propositions. So I just wanted to talk through the process there a little bit and then go over our ballot propositions. I know everyone's just realizing that we're going to be here for another hour, so I'm sorry. But our process was we took submissions from anyone who sent any in, members of the SREC, and then we kind of narrowed those down to get to our final list of 10 that was recommended. Our last cut was about 13. 2 of the ones that we removed were questions that had been asked on previous ballots, although I think there may be some motions to try and bring one or 2 of those back, which we can debate. And so that's how we landed at our overall list. When Virgil and I were reviewing it last night, there is a change that I'd like to make to one of them that I think would actually require an amendment, and I'll identify that on the first question. But other than that, I'll read through these and then move adoption, and then we can go into debate and amendment. So when we do go into debate, I'm advised that we will be voting on all of these as a single motion. So to add a question or to remove a question or to change a question would be an amendment and would be voted on as an amendment. There's been some attention about a petition for adding a question, and I know we're still reviewing what that process could look like. But I do believe it would require a special SREC meeting to finalize language if that is determined to be valid. So that's not something we're doing today, but that could happen in between now and when the ballot is finalized, if that's determined to be valid. But yes, so the secretary is reminding me, the wording here, more people are going to read this language than anything else that we ever pass out of the SREC. Sometimes with our resolutions, we're lucky if a handful of people read them. But this will be read by every single person who votes on the Republican primary ballot in March, and that's likely to be over 2 million people. And so the wording here really matters. The placement of commas really matters. And one or two words that create ambiguity or change the meaning of a proposition could result in something passing or failing, or the percentage dramatically changing. So I think the committee has been very, very thoughtful in preparing language for all 10 of these propositions. And if we go about changing them, we need to be just as careful. So hopefully that suffices as a reminder. But anyway, the propositions. So number 1, Texas should create a border protection unit and deploy additional necessary state law enforcement and military forces to seal the border, to use physical force to prevent illegal entry and trafficking, and to deport illegal aliens to Mexico or to their nations of origin. And before I move on from that one, this is the one that I think will need an amendment to change. And so hopefully someone is willing to move that. I think the word necessary is excessive. I think that word needs to come out, and the proposition will actually read a lot more clearly if it's not in there, because it would say deploy additional state law enforcement and military forces to seal the border.
I understand that you're in the middle of your report, but I have a quick question, because you were talking about, are we treating all of the current items on the screen as one thing that we will be voting on, or are we voting on each one individually?
We are voting, the motion
block
is being made as one block.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
More of a parliamentary inquiry.
That's what
So
I'm asking.
we're going to, the resolution is the block.
Okay.
Any changes will have to be made by amendment.
So would we do that before or after Mr. Bowen goes through and reads the full list?
He's going to read the full list, then it's going to proceed to discussion, and anybody can make amendments, and each of those amendments will be debated.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, so there will be...
Request for information. You're going to read the whole list first, and then you'll entertain the motions to amend?
That's correct.
Gotcha.
The second item, there are 10 of them, so we'll need to get through these. The Texas legislature should require the use of E-Verify by all employers in Texas to protect jobs for legal workers by preventing the hiring of illegal aliens. Number 3, the Texas legislature should end all subsidies in public services, including in-state college tuition and enrollment in public schools for illegal aliens. Number 4, Texas urges the United States Congress not to grant any form of amnesty or a pathway to legalization for illegal aliens. Number 5, the Texas legislature should prohibit the deployment of the Texas National Guard to a foreign conflict unless Congress first formally declares war. Number 6, the Texas legislature should establish authority within the Texas State Comptroller's Office to administer access to gold and silver through the Texas Bullion Depository for use as legal tender. Number 7, the state of Texas should ensure that Texans are free to give or to withhold consent for any vaccine without coercion. Number 8, the Republican Party of Texas should restrict voting in the Republican primary to only registered Republicans. Number 9, Texas should restore authority to the Texas Attorney General to prosecute election crimes. And number 10, Texas should ban the sale of Texas land to citizens, governments, and entities from China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia. And so having read that, I move adoption of the 2024 primary ballot propositions.
Mr. Chair. Leslie Thomas, SD 22. I move that we divide the question and consider these in order so that we're not jumping all over the place. So we take the first one and amend it if it needs to be amended, take the second one and amend it, see if it needs to be amended.
Okay, there's been a motion to divide the question. All in favor? Well, I'm sorry, is there a second?
Is that debatable?
Second by Rachel. Yes, Rolanda?
Is it debatable?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think it is. Yeah.
Oh, did you want to? Oh, okay. Well, if she. Oh,
Leslie, do you want to talk?
Otherwise, you could jump from one to the other and down to the middle and then up to the first. And this way, I think it will go faster if we just take it sequentially.
Yes.
Oh, actually, that approach will completely bog us down. You all have in your digital packets and on your screens every one of these. And if you have a particular thing that stands out to you and concerns you, you will have ample opportunity to come to request to amend it. But to go every single one, you know what's going to happen? Everyone's inner editor is going to come out, and we're all going to come to the mic and start wordsmithing these. And I will tell you, for the millionth time, these are policy positions. We are not prescribing legislation. But if we go one by one, I guarantee you, everyone will start lining up and squabbling over every comma. So let's please not do that.
Anyone else?
Britton Brooks, SD 30. I've always thought Rolando is by far one of the smartest ones of us. Please listen to him right now. This will take us 4 hours. Listen to Rolando. Okay.
See, I don't know if you knew this right now, but Rolando's my favorite person during resolutions right now. I want him to come up and take a picture with me. Anyone else to speak on this?
Mr. Chairman, Rachel Horton, SD 30. I speak in favor of the motion to divide each one. We have several, and I know I have received several votes, and to actually figure out the talking points for our upcoming sessions, for our upcoming conventions. So I feel it's very important that we take the time to deliberate and consider each one of these, as the Resolutions Committee has already put in much time and effort on these, and we definitely appreciate that. So now we have the full body and would love to be able to consider each one of these as individuals. Thank you.
We've had 2 in favor, 1 against. Anyone else? Nope. We're going to vote on it. All in favor of dividing the question, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. The noes have it. The question remains. Steve.
I move to amend the committee report by striking the second ballot proposition dealing with E-Verify.
Been a motion to amend, and that's been seconded to strike the ballot proposition dealing with E-Verify. Would you like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, members, E-Verify is an absolute joke. It's managed by a database of the Department of Homeland Security. So what we're saying is we're okay with calling to use a system that Homeland Security verifies illegal immigrants by, and that's good enough for us. The system is not good enough for us. I'm in the agribusiness, and many of my customers utilize migrant labor. I have witnessed 18-year-old men walk in and pass the same Social Security card around and offer a birth date that made them 50 years old. And when I asked, what's going on here? E-Verify says it's fine. There's no photo ID tracking, there's no fingerprint tracking, because it's good enough for Homeland Security. To put this ballot proposition on the ballot and accept that E-Verify is enough is pulling the wool over the eyes of the voter, because it's not enough. It's an absolute terrible system, and we can do better than this. Thank you.
I would like to speak against. The ballot proposition does not say that E-Verify is perfect. But what Steve forgot to say is that it is light years better than what we have now, which is the I-9 form. If you want to talk about a joke, it's the I-9 form, and everyone knows it's a joke. The E-Verify system already exists. At a state level, we can mandate it. It's not perfect, and there may be room for improvement or to set up some other system. But E-Verify already exists and is already a massive improvement over what we use now, which is the fraud-prone I-9 form. And anyone who argues that E-Verify is not an improvement over the I-9 form is insane, okay? And more to the point, instead of debating the nooks and crannies of the E-Verify system, this ballot proposition is about turning off the employment magnet, which is the biggest magnet for illegal immigration. Again, this is a step that the state can take. It is the biggest thing we can do on the side of interior enforcement. We talk a lot about border security, and that's important, but we need to do something about interior enforcement. Because as long as there is a magnet drawing illegal aliens here, they're going to keep coming. So I would urge you to keep this ballot proposition.
David Wiley, SD 12, speaking for the striking of this item. Every time that E-Verify has been included in any of our discussions that I've heard in the Republican Party for the last decade, it always comes up that E-Verify is the wrong solution for what you are wanting to accomplish. It's just a really, really bad privacy issue. It's a bad requirement on employers. The use of E-Verify is bad. So I would support striking this and coming up with some other way to tell people not to do illegal things.
Jim Pickle, SD8, in favor of the amendment. E-Verify is not free. Mr. Evans is in the business that he would be in agriculture business, which would be one of the main uses of this E-Verify system. It's going to cost every employer a lot of money. I agree with Rolando. The I-9 form is a complete joke, and maybe E-Verify is just a joke that's not quite as funny. But to make this as our position that we want employers to be charged more money for something that doesn't work doesn't seem to make any sense.
Mr. Chairman, point of information.
Please state your point of information.
Were you aware that this was on the 2018 primary ballot?
I was, yes.
Do you know what the percentage was?
I do not, offhand.
Okay, well, it was 90.28. Thank you.
You could have just spoke against it. You got like 2 people left. I don't know where I came into this. David.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I am speaking against striking it. I'm in the janitorial business, so an employer that's affected a lot by this. And this is a huge step in a much better direction. I'm still a Ronald Reagan fan, and half a tax cut is better than none. I agree there are better systems that could be developed, and when they are, I will fight you to be first in line to use them. But until that point, this is a huge step in the right direction, so I would encourage you to strike that.
Yes.
Scott Bowen speaking against, and I believe this would be 3 and 3 after I speak, but the E-Verify system could be better, I'm sure. I mean, it's not something I have direct experience with, unlike a lot of my colleagues, but what it does is it prevents employers by pretending that the documents that are being submitted are authentic when they really aren't. It is a check in the system that is going to catch a lot of people and protect a lot of American jobs. And so it is also very popular. It is well known. Almost everybody knows what E-Verify is. We don't have to explain it to them in the ballot language. If this is passed and then we find a better system later, nobody's going to object to the state using the better system. But everyone knows what E-Verify is, everyone knows what it represents, and everyone knows that it makes it dramatically more difficult for employers to accept unauthentic documents from illegal aliens. And so I think it is something our voters really want. I think it's something most of us want. And this belongs on our primary ballot because everyone who votes in the Republican primary is going to be happy to see it there. And so I urge that we leave it in.
Okay. That's 3-4, 3 against. We'll move, yes. Go ahead.
If we strike this, can we bring up another ballot proposition?
You can, I believe, there isn't even a limit, right?
Like property tax?
Yeah. You can amend this until we're done with amendments. So yes, you can, there isn't a set number of ballot propositions we can give that's required by law. There's common practice we've done in the past, but there's nothing limiting it. So you don't have to remove one to add one necessarily.
Okay, so just to clarify another point of inquiry. So because we are amending this document, we can offer another ballot proposition.
Yes.
Okay.
Throughout the amendments.
Okay.
You just can't amend it to put that back in because we would have already decided it.
Right,
That's
okay.
it.
Thank you.
Right. So point of parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
Please state your inquiry.
Just to kind of clarify, I think what the thinking might have been there. If someone is hoping to add a ballot proposition to this list, they do not have to first remove a different ballot proposition. You don't have to subtract first in order to add. You can add to the list.
Correct.
Okay.
You do not have to subtract first in order to add. It's not a consideration for whether or not it's allowed. It's a consideration of whether or not you're going to get the votes for it if it's in adding without subtracting.
Yes, amend, please. I would like to amend the document.
We're done with debate.
Oh, we are done with the, I'm sorry, I thought we had 3, 4, and 3 against, so I thought we moved on.
No, we have to vote now.
Oh,
and
okay.
then it'll open up for amendments on the main
okay.
motion. So now we're voting on the amendment to strike the E-Verify proposition. If you are in favor of striking it, vote yes. If you're against striking it, vote no. All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay. Oh.
The nays have it.
No.
All right, we're going to do a division. Everyone who's in favor of striking it, please stand up. Raise your hand if you have a proxy. Yes. Please sit down. If you're against striking, please stand up. Please raise your hand if you have a proxy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. The noes have it. The amendment fails.
Yes, I would like to amend and add another ballot proposition.
Go ahead.
The elimination of property taxes.
Do you have it written down at all so you
No,
can
they
provide it to the
just
secretary?
eliminate all property taxes.
I would.
Put the language in, move to put the language in that was
Yeah.
on
Okay.
Move to put the language in that was in yesterday.
I moved to put the language that was in yesterday.
Is it the language that was in yesterday you want?
I will
Okay.
take that.
Yes, Virgil will have that.
Virgil will have that.
Thank you. And I second that.
Okay.
And I have a proxy.
Again, when we're adding, let's make sure it's good so that you're not you're not underperforming.
Mr. Chair,
I can speak to it.
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on one second. Where do you want it inserted?
Right up top. Yeah.
Good.
Texas should eliminate all property top 10. So I'm asking for this again. Thank you.
All right, Scott Bowen, SD2, speaking against. A question similar to this was asked in 2022, and it only got 75.63% of the vote. Now, that was, looking at all of the other propositions, that was by far the lowest one on the ballot last go-around. The reason the committee didn't use this language is because I think there was a widespread concern among committee members that the proposition written this way might fail. With exception to an income tax, that's very ambiguous language. It's really not clear what that means. I think voters intuit that when we say we eliminate property taxes, then we're just going to cut one and increase something else. And if they don't know what that something else is, they're suspicious of it. Now we know, because we're very involved, what the overall plan is, because TPPF and Governor Abbott and others have communicated over the years exactly how we are already getting rid of property taxes. And that is by using excess sales tax collections to buy down and compress the property tax rate, just like they already did. That plan is working, and we don't need to create even more political will for it. The legislators are doing it. They didn't even have to be told. Now, they had to work together and they had to figure out their issues, but they got it done, and they'll get it done again as long as the money is there. So I don't think this proposition adds value. I think it could create a political complication if it doesn't get as good of a result as we're hoping, and I think with this wording, it could even fail, and we really don't want to see a ballot proposition fail. So I think for those reasons, the committee didn't feel like it made sense to add this one.
Yes.
Well, I'm speaking in favor of this amendment. I'm on Resolutions Committee, and I fought for this yesterday. I submitted this resolution. I will tell you that in my district, and I'm sure that all of you have constituents that continue to be concerned about their property taxes. It's probably, it's one of the top 3 issues that I continue to hear about. And unfortunately, although we did get some property tax relief, what people like Vance Jen, who is a Texas economist, he continues to advocate for the elimination of property taxes by all means and every means. And the reason why it's important to put in there using every means available is that compression is a very important way to reduce property taxes, but the legislature also must reduce its spending and stop growing government in order to do that. And so they have that as another means. They have appraisal caps, all of those things. And this was debated very vigorously between the chambers, and our governor got involved and took a wonderful position on it. And but it will continue to be an issue that Texans care about. And so I think that while we may have had 75% in favor the last time this was on the ballot, which is overwhelming, by the way, that is overwhelming. I think that as people have seen their property taxes go up tremendously and also become more educated on the issue, we are very likely to have a higher number, not a lower number, of people who want to eliminate property taxes. So I'm very much in favor of this and encourage you to vote yes.
Thank you. Andy?
Yeah, I'm going to speak in favor of this as well. Like Kristen, I was on the resolutions, and we were definitely in the minority when this did come up. I will point out, I'm not going to add any more to what she has said and what others have said that are speaking for it, but this is a big deal for people today, and one of the purposes of these propositions is to bring people to the ballot box. And property taxes is a very big deal today, especially to those grassroots who really know what's going on. And so we will bring those folks out to the ballot box by adding this to the ballot. And I do believe you will see an improvement in the numbers. It's not going to be down around the 75% because people will better understand it, especially those grassroots who are wanting something like this. And this will also help bring out others to vote on the primary ballot. So I urge you to vote for this amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I move to make an amendment to the amendment. can we strike from the comma after the word taxes to without? So leave the word without, but the and right before it. Strike that section. So it would read, Texas should eliminate all property taxes without increasing Texans' overall tax burden.
The amendment to the amendment is to cross out that center section. There's a second by Chuck. We're on discussion. Do you want to speak in favor?
Sure. I think this would be a much better and clearer way to put this question before the voters, if that's what we want to do. I think the struck out section adds a lot of unclarity to it. That what we always worry about with these questions, when you ask anybody a question where you're expecting the answer to be yes, you don't give them a reason to vote no. And so I think if we ask just about any Republican in Texas if they want property taxes eliminated, the answer should be yes. And the no always finds its way in through the details, through the exceptions, through the what are we going to do instead. And so I think taking those out of the question and just making it very straightforward is the way to ask this that is most likely to get the result that we want. And so if we do this, I think overall the question is one that we can be much more comfortable putting on the ballot.
Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Let's go. Is anyone against? Adolfo.
I'm against.
Okay, please speak.
Okay, I'm against the amendment. If I'm an oil man, oil is property. If I'm a gas producer, gas is property. If I have property and I have the wind rights, that's my property. So what does property mean? I know what everybody thinks it means. They think it means real estate, but that's not what that says. Property is a lot of different things, and it's all taxed. So are we going to start playing with words and spend the next hour on this one with words when everybody thinks it's one thing, but it's other things? So my question is, I'm against it because property means a lot of different things, and I generate income from property on some real estate that I have. I like it, but it's not real estate. So I think the wording is absolutely wrong.
Ken? I'm speaking for the amendment. The point I was going to make earlier when I first stood up here was if you leave the wording the way it is right now, does that open the door for, say, a VAT, a value-added tax? Or does it leave the door open for other added fees or fines, other things that might come to replace the money? I think that the amendment does a good job of eliminating that ambiguity, and so I support it. Are there any more against?
Discussion now, point of order, point of inquiry, is that the discussion is on the amendment to the amendment, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, seeing that there's no more debate, we're going to take a vote on the...
Not voting on the entire green section. If you vote yes, we are only voting on to strike out the middle language and leave the rest of the proposition. And then the next vote would be, after that's amended, on the entire question.
And I agree, and I'm assuming it's the struck out green wording. That's, yeah, what I just said. Thank you, though, for clarification. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those against? All right, that was clear. Let's do some more of those, people.
Madam Chairman?
Yes?
I call the question on the amendment.
Okay.
Madam so can I not talk about? Oh.
No, if they call if my understanding, baby parliamentarian here, for all those who would like to close debate, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Now we're about
to the amendment? Okay, the whole amendment. Thank you. I came in, everyone was worked up. I thought you appointed another committee when I was gone. I was I have no idea. All right, all in favor of the... Huh? Yeah, on accepting the green language. All in favor of the of accepting the amendment, which is the green language, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I move to strike the word necessary from the second proposition.
Motion's been made to strike the word necessary from the second proposition. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Do you want to talk? Scott?
Sure, I'll speak to it. Yeah, real fast. I kind of cheated a little bit and spoke to it when I was giving my report.
Oh, you're good. Okay.
But yeah, it
favor of eliminating the word necessary, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment passes. Chris.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to go down to the penultimate proposition, that being next to last. And I'd like to make a motion that it be amended as follows. The Texas Constitution should be amended to, and then from there it would pick up restore authority and so forth. I'll be happy to speak to that.
Please, second by Matt Patrick. Please go ahead.
Folks, today, well, this has been a matter on my mind ever since the Court of Criminal Appeals issued their opinion striking a 50-year-long statute, as we all know, in the Stevens case, thus eliminating our Attorney General's ability to prosecute election crime concurrently with local district attorneys. Since that time, all of that authority has been languishing, and it's been in the hands of local DAs and county DAs. I spoke to General Paxson about this issue for about 15 minutes the day after Thanksgiving. We discussed the idea. He really liked the idea of us being able to get this on a ballot proposition. So he assigned 2 staff attorneys, and I worked with them the following Monday. And this is the exact language that the Attorney General's office came up with, along with my collaboration. So I ask that you accept the amendment.
Andy.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm speaking for the amendment. This originally was the language, the Texas Constitution should be amended. That was removed in committee after much discussion that some will say that the Constitution already gives that authority and it just needs to be restored. Others would say no, because it doesn't explicitly state that. We need to explicitly state that in the Constitution, and that's why the words say the Texas Constitution should be amended to restore that. So I support actually putting the words for the Texas Constitution back in there. It makes a lot better sense, and that's what we're really after, because without that, you still get that legal question of, is it really in the Constitution or not with this other wording? So I support it.
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, speaking against, this concedes that the decision, the incorrect decision of the Court of Criminal Appeals, that we accepted, which we don't. What's going to happen is we're going to defeat in the primary those Court of Criminal Appeals justices who approved this erroneous decision, and then we're going to pass, and then the law will stand. Okay, so I don't believe that by accepting this amendment, we are accepting the decision of the Court of Criminal Appeals, which was incorrect.
Ken?
Speaking for the amendment, as many of you know, I chair the Ballot Integrity Committee for Missouri County Republican Party, and this is something I have watched for some time. And there are some who think we can just fix this with legislation, and the truth is you can't. There's two ways to fix it. One is get the court to reverse its opinion, and everybody and their aunt has been trying to get them to do that, but they refused. The other way is a constitutional amendment. If you want to get this thing changed, this will be the way to do it. Now, in all honesty, I think the odds are kind of long, but I think it is a worthy goal, and so I support this.
Have you spoken on this yet?
Well, it was my motion, and yes, sir, I did. I just had one quick retort to Rolando.
I was going to do that same thing.
Well, be my guest.
Well, go ahead, John.
I have all the respect for my colleague Rolando, but I don't think he's correct in his conclusion. Changing the personalities on the court does not reverse a decision that previously made by the court. The court there said it was through the lack of constitutional authority that the Attorney General could not prosecute those. So we do need a constitutional amendment in which to overturn that poor decision from the Court of Criminal Appeal.
Anyone else? Okay, we're going to vote on the amendment to the amendment, I guess. Sorry, I got thrown. It's just an amendment? Oh, we're going to vote on the amendment now, which would strike, it would strike the top language, Texas should restore authority, and add the underlined red language. All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Any other?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Melinda Morris, SD 13. I have a point of inquiry on the question above this one.
Okay.
Is this a way of supporting close primaries by answering this question?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. So I definitely support that. And then I would like to add an amendment.
Please state your amendment.
My amendment is that the Texas Constitution should be amended so that the Secretary of State is an elected position rather than an appointed position.
So you're adding a ballot proposition?
Yes. Because we need a Secretary of State that's going to help Harris County with our election integrity, and we have had very little support from our current Secretary of State, who's appointed, and we really have no recourse.
Can you bring up your language, please? Or read it to me really slowly. Yeah, or read it really slowly.
I'm just saying that the Texas Constitution should be amended. Oh, I'm sorry.
Should we put "I'm just saying" on the ballot?
I'm just saying.
Just say it.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
Should be amended. To read that the Secretary of State, to provide that the Secretary of State should be an elected position. Be an elected position. That the office of the Secretary of State should be an elected position, period.
Okay. You've already spoken in favor. Do we have anyone else? Either way.
Bill Fairbrother, Senate District 5, like to speak against. We're turning this amendment process into a Christmas tree. As someone who's been an election judge the last 2 cycles in early voting election day, voters ask, what does this mean? And we can't legally tell them anything in the polling place. The committee spent a lot of work coming up with a good 10, and we've added a golden oldie 11. This is making the ballot longer, more complicated, and it's going to lose its effectiveness if we just keep on adding amendments and amendments. So I will be opposing this one. Thank you.
Yes, Kent.
Speaking for the amendment, I admit this kind of took me by surprise, but I think it's a good idea. Right now, we belong to the Secretary of State of the Month Club. It seems like every time we turn around, we have a new one appointed. And to be very frank, the last few have not been very effective. If, as we hope, having the election administrator in Harris County replaced by an elected official will help, I think it would also help to have the Secretary of State, an elected official who is accountable directly to the people.
Anyone else? Scott?
Scott Bowen speaking against. I agree with Mr. Fairbrother. I think the ballot is getting kind of long already, and this is an issue that I think is much easier to advocate for because of how inside baseball it is than to necessarily put on a ballot. We saw with the Galveston County Treasurer's race, not the Treasurer's race, but the proposition related to the Galveston County Treasurer, that people have strange opinions sometimes about who should be elected and who shouldn't. And so again, I don't know that it's necessarily fait accompli that this would even pass. And again, if we put something on the ballot that's not going to pass and it fails, then if it's something we want, we end up in a worse position than we were before. I think this should go in the platform first. We should work it through the grassroots process. And then if we see a lot of support for it there, then maybe in the future we could add it as a ballot proposition after we've had the ability to educate the voters. But right now, this is something that doesn't have any clear ideological valence, and so it could get a very disappointing result.
Yes. Wait, are you for or against?
For.
We've already we have 3 for already.
Oh.
Take another against. Okay. All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. The noes have it.
I make a motion to amend the report, sir.
That's fine. But by the way, just as a reminder, because it came up and I don't want to be seen as arguing anything, the maximum number of resolutions that we've had in the last 20 years has been 11.
11 in
which
2018.
was last time. In 2018, and then 10, and then before that was like 6.
Mm-hmm.
So just providing that context. So not saying don't amend, I'm saying if you amend, you might want to cross out some too.
Well, I'm saying that I'm all for just having 10, but I will gladly take a hatchet to some of them to get this on the ballot, and that is school choice.
Okay.
I did say I would. I said I was willing to. But Virgil has the language already. I emailed it to him.
Thank you.
And so school choice, putting parents in charge of deciding what is best for their children instead of a government system deciding, has been a hard fight of conservatives for over 30 years. We got charter schools in the 90s thanks to the people who were fighting for it then, because the opposition was only willing to allow that much. And they've been actively working to claw it back ever since. There is a fierce and powerful lobby against it. I've been told many times over the years that it will never pass in Texas. Not happening. In 2012, we put this on the primary ballot. The state should fund education by allowing dollars to follow this child instead of the bureaucracy. And that passed with 84.3%. In 2018, we brought it again to the voters' attention with Texas families should be empowered to choose from public, private, charter, or homeschool options. And that one was 78.67%. Then in the legislature in 2021, the one single school choice bill filed by Betancourt in the Senate and Middleton in the House just barely got a pity hearing in committee in the Senate and never even got past the referral stage in the House. In 2022, we put it on Republicans' ballots again with a result of 87.78% support. Now, after COVID has opened many parents' eyes to aspects of the education system they cannot stand, there is momentum now to get parents school choice. Let's make ballot propositions not only an echo chamber of stances we already know we as Republicans cheer, but includes school choice to have an actual impact on this battle's outcome, to make a real difference in a fight getting close enough to the finish line that opponents are diving out the Texas House windows. We are closer than ever before to giving frustrated moms and dads with nowhere left to turn a chance to give their children a better education, to provide struggling students in failing schools another option so that they can succeed. So rather than our sitting out in the stands just watching while our team is yards from the end zone, let's help now with a measure which can really make a major difference in families' lives. We can actually help win this by putting this on the ballot, because better educated students make better voters and thereby make a better state for all of our families. Thank you.
Thanks. Karen, can you confirm that's the language, because our emails are not working? Okay, great. Anyone else for or against? This is for or against Karen's.
I'm speaking against.
Yes, Leslie.
Leslie Thomas, SD 22. I'm a homeschooling mom of 6 kids. I've graduated 5. I've got 1 left. Private schools in Texas homeschools in Texas are considered private schools. So whatever you do to private schools, you are affecting homeschool students. 20 years ago, well, I guess it's been 25 years ago, it was illegal to homeschool in Texas. We were put in jail. And the Leaper decision, Arlington family got put in jail, and so they're Leapers. And then, so that went to court, and the judge ruled that homeschools were private schools, and that they had to teach reading, writing, arithmetic, and good citizenship, and and no one could oversee them, just like private schools. So we don't answer to anyone. We don't answer to the CPS. We don't answer to superintendents. We answer to no one but to our God. And in this one, it says whether public or private, and so that meant that the funding would go to homeschools. When you have funding coming to you, you have accountability. You have registration. And we are fierce about not registering our children. We do not want to register our children with the government and be accountable to anyone. When you have funding coming in, there has to be performance tests. You're not going to give money to a failing program. So there will be that. So as this is written, I'm for school choice. I am. I'm rabid about it. But as this is written, it could lead to unintended consequences. I ask you to look to Arizona, who passed the voucher system, and they had buyer's remorse. Now they have to register their kids. They didn't know that when they first voted on it, but now, the devil's in the details. So I am a school advocate. I also practice school education law. I put on my clothes and I go up to my attorney clothes and I go up to the school and I do ARDS and I talk to principals and tell them y'all can't do that. So I do go into the public school system, and I am working in those places to make it better. But I'm telling you.
Point of order. We're past the minute, aren't we?
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, this,
Please wrap up.
including private school in this, has unintended consequences, and I ask you not to pass this.
All right. Scott Bowen speaking in favor, and the committee looked at this. And this was one of the very last, almost made the final cut. This was one of the very last ones that we did cut just to get down to 10. Since we're going beyond 10, I think it's worthy of inclusion. In fact, I think it would have been number 12 if the committee had issued 12 propositions. But just to speak to the issue that was brought up, it comes up every time we talk about school choice. And every bill that has come before the legislature has included copious protections for homeschools. This is the language from 2022 that passed with 88% support from Republican primary voters. And so this is a priority of the governor. It is going to be the centerpiece of his campaign against a lot of incumbents that we don't want to see back. And I think it'll be a very important part of that campaign and of everything we're trying to accomplish in the next legislative session and the primaries that will lead up to it, for us to include this question on our ballots. So if the only people in Arizona who don't support the school choice plan that they have are Democrats and teachers unions and their Democrat governor who cheated her way into the election. And the only people in Texas who don't support school choice are Democrats and the Republicans in the legislature who have been maintaining the leadership structure that has caused us problems time and time again, and they are the people who don't want to see this on the ballot. So I think we need to put it on there, and I think we need to get our voters out to vote for school choice once again. And Mr. Chairman, I call the question on the amendment.
All in favor of calling the question on the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Now we're going to vote on the amendment. All in favor of adding the language on school choice to the ballot propositions, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Before we take I just want to remind everybody, when we're debating, you don't have to use your whole 3 minutes. We still have a couple rules resolutions to go. We have several committee reports to go, and it's 3:30.
Yes, Chairman.
And we have cookies, and nobody gets any cookies until we're done with the ballot proposition. So
Thank you. Got the point, Chairman. Thank you. Dana Myers, Vice
Thank you.
Chairman.
Please.
After sitting here giving it some thought and listening to Rachel, I will actually play that game of I'll trade you a couple resolutions and raise you. I would like to suggest a amendment. I would like to see the Texas Constitution add a statement that you must be a U.S. citizen to vote in Texas. Short language.
And there's a second. Yeah, go ahead. What does it say? Just you must be a U.S. citizen to vote in Texas?
A change in the Texas Constitution that you must be a U.S. citizen to vote. And I will just speak briefly on that. I know that many people are going to say, well, it's already in the election code. Yes, it is. However, as the federal government continues to try to push through the federalization of our elections, which is an ongoing war on a constant basis, we are seeing cities across the United States implement change in their local government voting, and they are allowing non-citizens to vote in their elections. We have that, along with all the other integrity issues that we have, but it's a question of our vote, our voice as Texans.
I just wanted to make sure, two things. The point of information is that you got the language that was previously in the committee. Is that the language you're using?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I do want to speak in favor of this. I do agree with our vice chair. It's extremely important to get that on there, and these are the exact same reasons I gave yesterday. So I will give back the rest of my time to the body.
Very good. Anyone else speaking against?
Yes, Tom Novus, SD7.
Everybody, order.
Speaking against. And I couldn't hear very well, so I'm going to say this anyway, and I might be repeating what he had said. But it was on the ballot propositions in 2022, and it passed 95.74%. So adding it back will not, I don't think, be beneficial in the fact that the legislature saw it, and it was circumvented by Democrats in voting present when it came up in this last legislative session.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak for or against? Okay, now we'll vote. Seeing none, we'll vote on the amendment. That's to add the language, the Texas Constitution should be amended to require proof of citizenship before any individual can be registered to vote. All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Yes?
Bill for Resolution 5, I call the question on the entire report.
Is that a second? Yep. Is there a second? Second by Susan. All in favor of calling the question on the report, please indicate, on the entire report? Or the, okay, on the entire report, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. Division. All in favor of calling the question on the report, please indicate, please stand up, sorry. Raise your hand if you have a proxy. It's 2/3? It's 2/3 to vote? Really? 2, 3. Well, that's not it. Okay. Yeah, the motion fails. It's a 2/3.
Mr. Chairman,
It's in the, show me the rule. Hold on one second. Yeah, is it different for the entire motion? Or? No, it doesn't matter. Hold on one second. I want to make sure we're right on the amount. No. But it's at the convention, right? Huh? It's 2/3? Okay. Okay, please take your seats. Yeah, okay, so for calling the previous question, it's 2/3. The motion fails. Rachel?
Mr. Chairman, I rise with an amendment to the report.
Okay. Please state your amendment.
The amendment is that the state of Texas should reassert its status as an independent nation. This question was placed by petition under Texas Election Code 172.088.
Virgil. Go ahead and speak to it. Do you want to speak? Do you want to speak to your amendment? Second by Dale.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that we've discussed this one before, but we do believe that the state of Texas should reassert its status as an independent nation. And this is not necessarily to say that, yes, this should happen next year, that we should all rise up in arms and build walls and keep Oklahoma out. It is, and Louisiana, I don't know. This is definitely more to give us leverage as a party to be able to say, look, legislature, state officials, these are the things that Texas voters are fed up with. We have rising healthcare costs. We have rising property taxes. Biden economics does not work. So we know these things to be true, and having this on the amendment, allowing Texas GOP voters in the primary election to be able to come before us and say, yeah, you know what? There's some things that I am fed up with. And to have that as a footnote on our ballot would be a positive thing. So I would like to move adoption.
I'd like to speak against Rolando Garcia, SD 15.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I mean, the supporters of this movement have already announced that they have the petitions to get this on the primary ballot. Why are they so insistent on having the SREC vote for it? Well, call me cynical, but I'm not dumb. They know that a lot of their signatures are not valid. They know that they're not going to be able to get on the ballot via petition. So they want 33 people to do what they could not get enough signatures to do. Because it's easier to bring 20 people to a meeting and lobby a body of 60 people than it is to actually collect 97,000 signatures. Keep in mind that this is a movement that claims to have 600,000 registered supporters. They claim that this is overwhelmingly supported in the state of Texas. If that is the case, Getting 97,000 valid signatures in a state of 30 million people should not be that hard of a task. What I suspect is it is a very small movement who wants us to give them legitimacy that they would not otherwise have. Secession is something that most Texans, voters are concerned about real issues: crime, border, taxes. We are not, when we become the party of secession, we are telling voters that we are not in touch with their concerns. So it's not a matter that this will pass or that there's any danger of Texas actually seceding, at least not in the near future. The danger is by even having this on the ballot, we become the party of secession. And I would urge this body, do not give a tiny, small movement the legitimacy that it could not earn through actual support among real Texans, and do not tar the Republican Party as the party of secession. If they really have the signatures, it's time to put up or shut up. If you have 97,000 supporters, then it's going to be on the ballot, regardless of what this body does. So let's see if they have the signatures.
Okay. I'm going to go over here, but first I want to ask for a clarification from Rachel on her amendment, because it was added underneath. The question was placed by petition. Is that language to appear on the ballot, or is that just informational?
It's to appear on the ballot. That addressed your concern.
No, but what we're doing right now is this motion is in ballot language.
Mm-hmm.
This motion is not for ballot language being placed on by petition.
I know.
It's what we're voting to put on. So
it's in parentheses.
It wouldn't be true if the petition signatures were validated and it was put on the ballot by petition. That statement wouldn't be true if we add it now. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, it's a timing thing, is what you're saying.
What I'm saying, I think it's a separate motion as to what the ballot language would be if it's placed on by petition, which might be different. The what?
Rachel.
That's what I'm trying to clarify, is if that's part of the writing.
You're not. It's not
Correct.
He wants you to explain.
The election code?
No, he wants you to explain.
Do we want that? My answer is that yes, because they met the requirements of that petition.
I haven't seen a petition.
Okay.
That's all I'm.
Well, and then in that case, then I would say no. It does not have to be on there. That can be my explanation. But I'm going to yield my time to Mr. Pickle, who is my co-author. Is that acceptable?
So yes. The only thing I was going to say is if we can include that language, save it, and then once we look at the petitions, as if the SREC pursuant to the law does approve it pursuant to that code, we can add that in that version. We can do it separately too.
I think. Okay, I'm going to yield my time to Mr.
We're going to have an
Pickle.
SREC meeting before January 15th. That's all I'm saying.
Jim Pickle, SD8. Here's the thing. The law provides for two separate and independent ways to get a ballot proposition on. One way is for the SREC to put it on there. The other way is to circumvent us with a petition of a certain percentage of the last gubernatorial election, which I think somebody calculates about 97,000 signatures. These are separate ways of doing it. So if they only have one petition, we can still do that as a body at the SREC. And the reason we want to do that is because there is a groundswell of people supporting, at least wanting to vote on this. Again, voting yes on what we're doing right now doesn't kick Texas out of the United States. It's not even an affirmative action to do that. All it is it's respecting the ability of the voters of Texas to vote on it. And so we claim a lot. I mean, it's happened 20 times in this meeting this week. We are respecters of the grassroots. We're grassroots. We want voters to decide. We don't want this to be a top-down thing. So all this does is gives all of us an indication whether the primary voters in Texas are in favor of Texas declaring its independence. If it goes down in flames, it goes down in flames. If it doesn't go down in flames, then there is a groundswell of support. And I disagree with Rolando when he gets up here and says they don't have the petitions, they don't have them. He hasn't vetted them either. He doesn't know that. We're making decisions based on literally lack of evidence. Okay, him saying that valid petitions are invalid is the same as me getting up here and saying they are valid. It's not evidence yet. It's just supposition. So we can't make a decision based on that. But the main point is we have the power as this body to put this on the ballot, petitions or no, and I'm for it.
I'm assuming you're against. No, I'm just kidding. I'm assuming you're for.
I'm for as well.
You're for as well. Okay, then. Is that the? Is there anyone else against?
I'm gonna look at y'all. I could make an amendment.
Hold on. I'm trying to go back and forth. So we have one more for, and we have two more against. So
okay.
And then I was going to go there.
You need a for.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't
Sorry.
know. I mean, when I got to the microphone, I saw people that looked as nervous as a chihuahua crap in a peach pit, so I wasn't sure what was happening.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm for it. But let me just say this. 8 years ago, I was in this very room, sitting back there, when I watched the Resolutions Committee actually place this question before the body of the SREC to be a ballot proposition. And the argument then was very simple. Let the Republican voters speak. I've heard all weekend that we are a party that respects the grassroots, to let them speak. But then I hear Mr. Garcia stand up and essentially say that the organization that pushed this petition forward are liars. Well, here's my answer to that. I'm your huckleberry. If you want to see where the people of Texas stand on this issue, then you put it to a vote. And if it is, as the detractors say, that no one believes in it, that it's fringe, that it's tiny, so what? You've killed this discussion in the SREC and in the Republican Party for the next generation. But we have to ultimately show that we respect Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution when it says that all political power is inherent in the people. We believe that the party across the street are the cancel culture folks who don't like the results of elections, and so they do the things necessary to kind of make their results happen, right? We believe that they're the people who don't really want the people to speak, but they give it lip service. But here we are today. Republican voters have a right to be heard on this issue. And you know what? If they say no, so be it. Why do we ask these things in the first place? Why do we have these ballot propositions? If we go in and say we know all the answers, it's nothing more than a marketing ploy. But here's what we do know. If we want to drive passionate, conservative Republican voters to the primaries, you will ask them this one question. And I quote my good friend, Dr. Matt Kortrup, the world's foremost expert on independence referendums around the world. When you put questions like this on the ballot, you increase voter turnout exponentially. The average voter turnout worldwide for questions like this is 85%. So I come here not just as the leader of the organization who wrote you all an open letter and led this petition campaign with an army of thousands of volunteers, but I come here as someone who has voted Republican his entire life. I've been a candidate under the Republican banner twice. And I am imploring you, let the people vote.
Okay. That was 3 for, 1 against.
I'm against.
And then I'm going to go to another one against. If I'm going to do this way because I want to make sure that you know what you're voting on. If there's no objection, we're reflecting it as the petition language as not being in this amendment. And as we stated before, if the petition signatures are verified and that becomes a true statement, then we'll visit the language we use. No objection? Thank you. Okay. Just make sure everyone knows what they're voting on. Are you against or for?
I'm for, but I have an amendment to this to try to make a compromise here, maybe. So,
Okay, let me go to Kiko and then you.
All right, Kiko Canseco, SD 26. I'm against, and this is why. I was born in Texas. I was raised by a father and a mother to be conservative. My father taught me to be a Republican in a very, very Democrat county. He was the sole Republican voter. All my life, I voted Republican. I am a Texan and an American, and I have proudly served the state of Texas, serving in the Congress of the United States. This is my country. I am a Texan American. And because of that, I do not want the state of Texas to start a flame that happened in 1860 in South Carolina. This is nothing more than treasonous language that would throw it. Just a minute, hold on a second.
Order.
I have an opinion,
Let him
and I'm
speak.
going to voice my opinion. This is not the language that the Republican Party of the state of Texas, a member of this federation, the United States of America, should employ or even consider. And with all respect for those people that are promoting this, I am very much against it, and I think that it's very un-American. Thank you.
Britton
Brooks, SD 30. I mean, no disrespect to anything any of y'all said. Rolando, I understand that too. I move that we simply add the words, do you believe? Do you believe the state of Texas should reassert its status? That way we're not saying it has to happen. We're not saying that we believe it. We're just asking the question. Aren't we curious? I think this would be the most talked about thing on the ballot, propositions. I think that there is a strong movement towards this. I am curious as to the answer. Aren't we all? Thank you.
Is there a second? Second by Jim Pickle. We're now discussion on the amendment to the amendment. And I'll count, Britton is the first speaker. Any other discussion on the amendment to the amendment?
Yeah, I would love to speak to it if that's all right.
Yeah, try to take.
Yeah, I'll be
time-wise.
Yeah. I'll be very brief. So the rationale behind this, and again, I will tell you that
for or against the amendment to the amendment.
For.
Okay, so for the amendment to the amendment.
Well, no, against. Sorry.
Okay.
So I'm against the amendment to the amendment. However, that is a soft against, and I'll explain to you why. And it has to do with the petition effort. You see, when we show up to the RPT headquarters around December the 11th with probably about 120,000 signatures, because that's about where we'll be by the time the cutoff happens, RPT an awful lot of time and an awful lot of money on the verification issue. However, if the SREC today passes...
Keep it to the amendment and the amendment.
I'm getting
language.
there, I promise.
Well, you gotta get there quick.
If the language that passes the SREC is exactly the same as what is provided by the petition, then there's absolutely no need for the petition. We save money, you save time, we'll deliver them anyway as a backstop. But at the end of the day, I think if the language gets changed, we actually risk, if that were to pass today and the petition shows up, having two separate ballot propositions that say virtually the same thing.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Please state your point of information.
If petitions are delivered under the election code to force a proposition onto the ballot, there's no language that is prescribed by the petitions. It would go to the SREC to determine language. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll vote now on the, do you want to talk on the amendment to the amendment? Vote on the amendment to the amendment. Who wants to vote yes if you want to add the red underlined language? This is just on the amendment to the amendment. For all those in favor of Mr. Brooks's amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion, the amendment passes. Now we're moving to...
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think there's still one.
There's one against left on the main motion.
Yes, thank you. I would like to be that one.
Okay. Matt.
Yeah, I don't actually have any fundamental opposition to Texit as conceptually. My argument is that we are not ready to consider the question. It's premature. Just kind of play out the scenario in your head is what I do. If we were to pass this, or if it were to be enacted into law, and we were to try to separate from the United States, are we ready? What would we have to do? And I contend that we are not prepared to do that. There's a lot of things we have to do. We have to get out of the Medicaid program. We have to get out of the Medicare program. We have to change a lot of our laws. We have to put in place the things that the federal government is supposed to do, and we haven't done those things. We're not ready to do this. So, and I don't think we could get it done in 5 years. So I think we need to focus on the things that are in the platform and getting those things enacted into law that will then put us in a position to consider a question like this. So for that reason, I'm against it.
Thanks, Matt. That's all the speakers.
Mr. Chairman, point of information.
Yes, please. Stay.
Just a really quick question. Just to be sure, there is language that is somewhat similar to this in blanks 33 and 225 of the current platform, correct?
I'm chair's not advised. I don't have the platform in front of me.
Okay.
But we can check. That's really argument also. But yeah, but you know, Andy did it a little more skilled. No, I'm totally joking. Okay, we're now on the question, which is motion to amend the ballot propositions to include the statement, do you believe that the state of Texas should reassert its status as an independent nation? All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? No. The noes have it. Did somebody call division? One person that called division? Yeah. Okay, stand up if you are in favor of the amendment. Please raise your hand if you have a proxy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Please sit down. Everyone against, please stand up. Please sit down. The noes have it. The motion fails. Any other arguments? Motion to call the question?
Yes, I would like to make one last resolution. Dan Rogers for Tom Moore and SD 31. I'd like to add a phrase to amend the Texas Constitution to define a ballot as a hand-marked, tangible, self-authenticated ballot or document that can be verified. I can repeat that.
Can you provide written language to the secretary?
Yeah, I could say it's real simple. A hand-marked, self-authenticated, tangible document that can be verified. I want to amend the Texas Constitution to define a ballot as a hand-marked. Texas shall be. I'll go along with that. That a ballot shall be defined. A ballot shall be defined. Hand-marked, self-authenticated, tangible, document that can be verified, period. The Constitution should be amended to define. Yes. And the reason is we do not have any ballots. We don't have elections. There is no tangible document.
You got it? Okay. There's no objection. I'm going to have the vice chair walk around the room with cookies and waft it, like, try to get everybody to. Okay. Would you like to speak to your amendment?
Yes.
Did he speak? Okay. Is there a second? Who was that? Second by Leslie. Okay. Well, would you like to speak briefly since you've already spoken some, just really quick?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The reason is, under the current election system, there is no ballot, and it is the reason a lot of people do not have confidence in our current election system, and you're hearing some people think there's some problems and some people don't, but this solves that problem, and it eliminates the absentee ballots because they have to be self-authenticated. Under the current system, there is no self-authentication and there is no ballot. And this would solve all the problems with our election system with one simple definition, and would effectively get rid of the countywide polling place program and get us back to real elections.
Okay, Scott.
Scott Bowen, SC6, speaking against. This language is asking for an object that doesn't exist and can't exist. There's no such thing as a self-authenticating ballot. Authentication is done by people based on evidence. The document doesn't look at itself in a mirror and say, I'm real. So hand-marked ballots, this is something that comes up a lot in the Republican Party, are not good enough. Hand-marked ballot, we need paper ballots, and we also need electronic verification of those paper ballots. Everyone remembers when Andrew Murr's grandfather was defeated by Lyndon Johnson in his Senate election because of Coke Stevenson, because of a box of ballots that was found in Jim Wells County. Those were paper ballots. The thing about paper ballots is you can just create them. A box of ballots can be found in someone's trunk. That's how Al Franken became a senator. There is a lot that goes into election security, and I don't want to pass a constitutional amendment that could tie the hands of our advocates and our specialists and our legislators in developing better and better systems, especially as we get into a new internet age where hacking is going to be easier than ever, and fakery and AI can create fake documents more easily than ever. We need flexibility, and we need to constantly stay ahead of the people who are trying to defraud our elections. And putting something in the Constitution that ties our hands could make that impossible. So I think this is a bad idea as written, and I also think it's something that would not be a good addition to our ballot questions. So I urge you to vote against it, and then hopefully someone makes it to a mic and calls the question.
Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I wish to be recognized to speak against.
Okay. Go ahead.
William Lutz for Fernando Trevino, Senate District 14. Am I recognized?
Yes.
Two things. First, would we be disenfranchising those who have disabilities, who might not have any hands with this kind of a definition? Second, this is a highly technical issue that we're putting in front of the general population. We're already debating what it means here Third, the Help America Vote Act, which is a federal law that applies to all federal elections, has some very specific provisions that relate to how you have to deal with accessibility and people with disabilities in a polling place. And it would probably be a mistake to put something in the Texas Constitution that, if we haven't vetted it very carefully to make sure it is consistent with the obligations that the party has and that the Secretary of State has under the Help America Vote Act. So I think there are some questions about whether this is clear and whether our voters would understand this and understand the ramifications of it. Also, if this were to be passed by the legislature, what would be the impact would be. So there are a lot of unintended consequences. I do not think something this technical should be placed as a yes-no proposition on the ballot. I encourage you to vote no. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to vote. All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. The noes have it. The amendment fails. Go to the mic, please, Scott.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question on the overall report.
Is there a second? Second by Dawn and Britton. All in favor of calling the question, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The question's called. Now, we're going to be voting on the ballot propositions as they've been amended. Please, you guys ready? Give me the signal when you're ready. It's still going to be the same. It's going to show as their name.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, point of inquiry.
Yes.
Can we just scroll that again, just so we?
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've seen it. All right, thanks.
Let's scroll it while we're getting up and running. Great. Just scroll through it before we do it. Just scroll through it. We're just going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and then I'm going to have everyone vote. Keep going. Keep going. Is that it? Perfect. Thank you. Please, we'll now start the voting. Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for abstain.
Mr. Chairman, as we're voting, point of information. How many do we have that were actually on the final number?
Hold on 1 second. Wait till we're done voting.
Okay.
Kristen, Donnie, Jerry, Deborah, Margaret, pointed at us. Okay, down. Cheryl, keep going. Steve, Robin, Tisha, Thomas, and Morgan. Voting will close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What do we got? 57 ayes, 3 nays, 2 abstain. The motion passes. The resolution's adopted.
Mr. Chairman.
Are you going to do the motion? Okay.
I might be doing something else, but it doesn't matter. Are you recognizing me?
Yes. Just work through it.
It's like he's not going to recognize me if he doesn't know what I'm doing.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move that under the direction of the chairman, a team consisting of, but not limited to, Virgil, Jen Hall, and the resolutions chair, Scott Bowen, be permitted to make non-substantive grammatical and spelling corrections to these ballot propositions so that we don't look like idiots.
Second by Galen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying, this doesn't need to be a record, does it? Please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion's adopted. I call upon Steve Evans, Chairman of the Rules Committee, to present the report of the Rules Committee.
I was also, Mr. Chairman, going to move to adjourn.
There's been a motion and a second. I think that was the best idea you've had in a year.
Oh. Now I've eaten too many cookies. I'm on a sugar high. Members, I'm going to try to run through this quick because I'm tired. I want to go home too. So, at the last convention, Rule 42 of the state party rules was modified to do a couple things. I'm not going to give you the verbatim language, but I'll tell you the effect. The effect A was, before you walk in your caucus and run for SREC, you have to let everyone know if you are receiving compensation from a PAC, an elected official. You can read the rule. It also said that the SREC members, after elected, must notify the SREC the same thing. So, we never cleaned up the bylaws to enact that rule, and Gebhardt noticed that we needed to enact that rule, so we've got an amendment. Do we have it up there? Article 3 membership. There you go. It adds Section 3 that creates a disclosure clause. Oh, hey, that's never been there before. Thank you. Appreciate that. It creates this disclosure clause that complies with Rule 42. The committee wordsmithed the fire out of it. I move adoption.
No seconds needed. Any discussion? Hearing none, we're going to now vote on the rule. Please press 1 for aye, 2 for no, 3 for abstain.
Mr. Chairman, have a point of inquiry. Will this require us, if we don't receive some sort of compensation, to make a negative report? Okay.
Yes. You can really do whatever you want, right? Because the body can't find, but they can kick people out, they can censure people. So
it was an effort made that said you can't be on the SREC if you're working.
That's bad. Susan, everybody vote. Susan, Rolando. All right, voting will close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voting is closed. Can we see the tally? 53 ayes, 4 nays, 2 abstentions. The motion passes.
Thank you, members. What you just voted for now requires a document. We've got a document drafted. It's very simple. So the rule doesn't require you to say where your compensation comes from. It just says to disclose whether or not. So this document's simple. We don't have to make it any harder. That's next. Where's the document? There's 3 actions on this. Here's the document. Just references the rule. It references the bylaw that you just created. It's going to reference a standing rule that we're going to do to allow Virgil to handle the documents, and says yes, no. Let's not complicate this anymore. Move adoption.
Just a point of information. So,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. So is this like when we get elected or re-elected to the SREC, then we're going to fill out a form that says yes or no, we work or get paid by such an entity?
The document says anytime your status changes,
You have to fill out a new form then? Okay. So it'll be in our packets of stuff to sign when we get elected the next time around. Okay, not a packet, but we'll get that okay.
Yes, Bill.
Assume if this is passed, you'll send out something and we'll have a reasonable amount of time to get it to become compliant?
Yes. Well, you'll have an amount of time. It may be unreasonable. I'm not promising anything. No, I'm kidding. Yes. Okay, this can be done by voice vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes.
And there's really nothing to do if you're not compliant, by the way. Anyway, I've got a standing rule. Told you this was three-part. We're just going to put the standing rule placeholder in there real simple. The Secretary will publish the disclosures to the SREC and will maintain those records. So he's the keeper of all keys at Hogwarts. He gets to keep the records, and he'll devise some way to have a document where you can go check the status if you need to. So this just is a standing rule to enact that move adoption.
All right. This is creating the new standing rule? Okay. This is a voice vote. All in favor of creating the new standing rule, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was a notice to strike partnerships and coalitions. That bylaw amendment has been withdrawn. Thank you very much.
Call upon David Wiley to present the Legislative Priorities Committee report. We're now at 4:14. I want everybody to get a chance to give their reports and tell everything, but just keep in mind the time and let's try to move it along. Thanks.
Jill wanted me to come up and give you this report from the Legislative Priorities Committee, in addition to the fact that she's doing as well as can be expected, started her first radiation treatment, and this past Thursday is doing well, and the doctors are very encouraged. As to the legislative priorities, there have been none of our priorities addressed in the special sessions, even though education has been very important to the governor, and it is one of our priorities. They are not addressing it. To find out how the legislature has done, there is grassrootspriorities.com. It's an external group that's keeping pretty good track. We decided not to host our own this time. Grassrootspriorities.com can show you where we are. Thank you very much.
Call upon Andy Eller to present the Election Integrity Committee report.
Okay, you might as well settle in. I got a long report. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Just quickly, that when the Election Integrity Committee met, we had Dr. Myers, our vice chair, speak a little bit about what all the election integrity efforts she's working on, and that did include putting together a letter to the Attorney General's office requesting that ERIC delete all of our personal identifiable information in their system that they have collected over the years as we were part of ERIC and no longer a part of ERIC now. She's discussed the ACE Act, which is the American Competence in Elections Act in Congress. Basically, it gives a framework for states who are not as far along as we are in election integrity, and believe me, there are states that are not, to follow and do some of the things that we are doing. And there were several other pieces that she went into. We eventually went into executive session to have some discussions around where the election integrity program is going and what Lucy Traynor has been doing recently with election integrity. And that is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Call upon Alma Jackson to present the Engagement Special Committee report. Oh, she did? I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. And I call upon Maggie.
Listen fast. Roman Klein has been engaged in his district through email and text, giving out helpful information necessary to keep them informed and hopefully active. He is also working on the runoff election in Harris County. Dale Gibbons built and hosted a website for a local Republican club and is assisting them by keeping up the website. Dale is also educating his blue district with truth and has seen his district turning more red little by little. Michael Monreal works with veterans. He focuses on informing and educating the veteran community that Republicans are the party that focuses on national defense and veterans' wellness. Howard Barker, since our last SREC meeting, has coordinated with the leaders of the two most active groups that work to start and maintain conservative clubs on high school campuses. The High School Republicans Federation has merged with Teenage Republicans. They have 10 to 12 clubs in Texas. Turning Point USA has 65 clubs across the state. Every SRC member is urged to check your email because Howard sent all of you contact information for those clubs already established and also clubs that are no longer certified. SREC members, please reach out to these clubs and invite these students to Republican events. Getting students involved in Republican political activity is just good practice. Students need to know that they are welcome and important to our party. We need to reach them before they get to college. If anyone has questions concerning this, contact Howard. Thomas Warren, we hope that all is well with you. He didn't have a report because he was absent from the meeting. Personally, I blocked my entire precinct, even though I was handicapped like I am, not being able to drive or lift over 2 pounds, but I found other patriots willing to drive me around, and together we delivered flyers to every registered voter in my precinct about the state propositions, the county bond elections, and the city council election where the Republican won. That was good. She is still speaking anywhere that she is invited to and promoting our party and giving reasons to vote Republican. She constantly finds opportunities to promote the Republican Party. Yay, Rod, done.
Call upon Rolando Garcia to present the Local Government Special Committee report.
Okay, this is going to be really, really short because I'm mentally wiped and I really want to get out of here. I do want to say for the record, because since this is our first meeting since the November local elections, the third largest school district in Texas now has a conservative majority. Cy-Fair ISD has a 6-1 conservative majority. This is the second cycle that conservatives have won, and now they have the majority. And somehow, I really need to there is an amazing group of precinct chairs. They organize, they recruit, they screen candidates, and then they have an amazing ground game. And I really want to get them to present to the local government committee and figure out how we can share that with other counties. But they have cracked the code that has eluded conservatives and a lot of other ISDs. So other than that, I just wanted to remind everyone that there are local elections in May. I mean, it's getting lost because we have the primary in March and the primary runoffs, which will be in late May, and in between there, on May 4th, you have local elections, or some of your jurisdictions will have local elections. Filing for that begins January 17th and closes on February 6th. Sometimes filing the game, sometimes more. For example, one of our former colleagues who was on SREC last term, Sean Sheben, filed to run for a trustee for the Houston Community College. No one else filed, so he won unopposed. So we got a conservative on the HCC board without even having to do anything. Yeah. So, sometimes half the game is just showing up. So, and I guarantee you, so many of these positions will be uncontested. Please file, or get people to file.
Thank you. Call upon Galen Devine to present the Convention Special Events Committee reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know y'all are tired. I know we are, but I do have a couple of things. I want to thank Bruce Bishop for making sure we don't have a zero convention balance right now. So, He asked who to give that money to. I said, me, now. So thank you, Bruce. But in all seriousness, I want to recognize the convention committee. I'm not going to call them out because it doesn't look like some of them are here, but thank you for your work. We do have a new booth-only email address, so I ask that you write that down until Virgil has a chance to update the website. It's so complicated that it is exhibits@texasgop.org. So write that down. If you have people that are interested in doing a booth, that is a great email to use. The catch-all for all things convention is conventions, plural, @texasgop.org. That comes to me, comes to Jen, gets you an answer if you have people that want to sponsor or do a booth. And I'd like to remind you that this is our convention. This is everyone's convention. So we really need everyone helping us get sponsors, get booths, reach out to your small businesses, your elected officials, and help us to have a great convention. So we can all take ownership so that when we're there and it's so successful, we can all take pride in the work that we have done as a group. There is a convention tab on the Republican Party of Texas website. I encourage you to go there and familiarize yourself with what is on that tab. We'll be adding to that as we get closer and crazier, but that is up, and that's where all things convention will be. And I have one more thing that I need your help with. Grassroots Club. So we changed processors back in May. Forced to change processors back in May. And I was one of those that did not get the email. It went to email la la land. And I didn't notice for a couple of months that I wasn't giving to Grassroots Club. So I have a list of SREC who used to give to Grassroots Club that are no longer on the list. Our list is very small for Grassroots Club. We were forced to change. James did multiple emails. It's like a 10-second re-sign up, but multiple emails that I think in the deluge of emails that we get politically, it just got missed. So if you want to be, if you thought you were, if you're not sure, please sign up to be a Grassroots Club member. And literally, it takes like 30 seconds. If you are not sure if you're still on the list, I have that list because it's not very long, and I can tell you in like 2 seconds if you're still on that list. And then encourage your clubs to help us. Grassroots Club members, when we pull that list, January 1, they're the ones who get VIP access to the hotel block that sells out, and they are the ones invited to a special event at convention. So I don't want a bunch of people mad at me in January because they used to be a Club member and they've not been giving since May, but still expect to go to that event, right? So help me out with that. With that, thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. No. Yes.
Every convention email that I send links to the proper
Yes.
Grassroots Club, so we're trying to get folks back into it.
Yes.
Talk to us if you have questions.
Yes, so every email that you get from the info@texasgop.org, there is a Grassroots Club link in there. So you can do that easily. Yes. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to, Matt, you told me you were going to skip the report? Yep. I'll sell it better. Matt wants you all to be able to go home and see your families, so he didn't do a report, although he had a lengthy one. I call upon Bruce Bishop to present, call upon Morgan Graham to present the Candidate Development Committee report. She's not here, Bruce Bishop? Good, setting a trend. Thank you. Now we're wrapping up unfinished business. We have no unfinished business. Is there any new business to come before the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a quick question regarding any pending censures that are left over in the Resolutions Committee.
Pending censures are, I know Phelan was passed out. We'll call a special meeting for that, and
there should have been one from Wise County for Representative Stuckey.
I'm not advised.
Okay. Would it be possible to cover something of that nature if and potentially should a special meeting be called for SREC before?
What's the status of the Wise
Mr. Sorry?
Sorry, I'm talking to Scott.
Who's this?
Scott, can you go to the mic?
Did we do this one? Sorry.
Yes, so the committee did discuss the Wise County motion against Lynn Stuckey in the special meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago when we discussed the finalizing the language for Andy Murr and ultimately voted not to proceed with it. Basically, the grounds for that were that the violations described in the motion to censure did not constitute violations of principle or priorities to the satisfaction of the committee. So it was voted not to move forward with that one.
Thank you. Matt?
Mr. Chairman, in view of the fact that Bruce Bishop is doing yeoman's work on recruitment committee, and that he's the de facto chair for that committee, I'd like to nominate him or recommend that he be made chair of his committee.
Okay. Is there a second? Second by Deborah. Any debate? You want to do it or no? Better tell him. Do you want to pull?
Bruce.
Okay, any debate? Huh? It's what? No. Are you declining or accepting if you get it? Abstaining. All right. Well, we still have a motion on the floor. Any?
I'd like to rise in opposition to that. Matt Tiskus, SD 10. Everyone has personal opinions about personalities, I think, but Morgan is involved in doing the work of the committee. I know she hasn't been here to give her report the last few times, but that just, to me, it seems like kind of a little bit of a cheap shot move here at the end of the meeting. So I would say we should not approve that.
Anyone else? Okay.
I guess point of parliamentary inquiry, is this a motion to remove a sitting chair and replace with a new appointee?
That's what it would be.
Okay, point of order. That's not in order for this body.
Yes. Can you get to the mic? Yeah, the motion's technically in order.
Long way around.
You would just, if you oppose it, vote against it.
Yeah. So it wasn't.
Although you could still move to table or do anything else.
Okay. Maybe I wasn't clear, and if that's the case, I apologize. It wasn't a motion because the appointment of committee chairs is the purview of the chair. So this wasn't a motion to be voted on by the body. It was a personal recommendation of me based on my observation of the activities of that committee. It's not an attack on Morgan. It's a recognition of Bruce's good work. And so this is something for the chair to decide.
Can you say withdraw the motion to the extent that
I withdraw.
it was taken as that?
I withdraw it.
To the extent it was taken as a motion.
It was not a motion. It was not a
Okay,
motion.
thank you.
It was a recommendation of the chair.
Bill?
I'm just waiting for you to say you need someone to call to move to adjourn.
Would you like to?
I'd like to move we adjourn.
Second. Hold on.
Can we get the Army and Navy vets up here immediately after adjournment for a picture?
Sounds good. All in favor of adjournment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. We're adjourned. Huh?